Right, so here we have the lower B-pillar trim for my classic Range Rover. I decided to get my 3D printer out and 3D print them. So what I've done, 3D printed this one's in 4 sections. The upper B-pillar is in only 2 sections, and then I have welded them together, which is a loose term. Essentially what it means is I've used a soldering iron to melt the plastic at about 210 degrees and basically melt them into each other. So this actually has little notches in it, so it sort of self-aligns. And then what I've got then is the trim clips, which are mounted in like this. So cut a little notch in the trim clip and then wind it through the hole. That's nice and recessed. So what we're going to do now is quickly cover it with some brown faux leather, which we need to cut out. Now we need to cut out with my humongous ruler, humongous rule. So what we want to do is have about 6 inches. Obviously you want enough material to be able to wrap over and then glue on the back face. This area is hardest because obviously you've got a kind of negative area. So we'll get this cut out and then we will glue it all together. So that's our piece cut. So it's about 6 inches wide by about 26 inches long, or about 65 centimetres by 150mm wide. The B-pillar actually is cut at an angle, so the piece has to bend. So there's a nice little notch here that I put in and then bent it and then used some other filament to actually sort of weld that in. So that's got a nice shape now, which is about the right angle. So what we're going to do, we're going to cover this face completely with CA glue. Press this down nice and firm onto here, and then what we're going to do is work our way round and make sure we've got the leather covering all the surfaces that are external. Alright, there we go, that's enough glue. So what you always want to do is make sure you make this really hard for yourself by trying to do too much at once. Right, there we go. So I'll just press really hard now. I think this is one about the best £5 I ever spent was on this craft knife. So what we want to do is cut this section out first because we don't need this section. Now this knife is pretty blunt, to be honest, so it's not the best knife ever, but it still does the job. I need to get another one. Now this is where it gets a little bit techniquey. This is the best technique I've come up with it. If anyone actually a better one, do tell me because it's not perfect. But I want to go in about like that, about 5mm from the edge, come straight out, 2 lines. Now this gives us this bit which pulls the corner over. And then I go for like a notch like this. So the material looks like this. And then we do the same here, less aggressively this time. And we do the same in this corner. Although we've probably got a little bit too much material on this side at the moment. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly whip that off. Who'd have thought arts and crafts would come up so much in the ownership of a classic vehicle? There we go. So we'll cut this again, like that, and do the same out, like that. That was diabolically bad. Right, so this is the base. Now it looks a little bit funny at the moment, but I promise it will look a little bit better in a minute. So what we'll do is we'll bring this over like this, pull up the edges like so. As you can see, they sort of fit together now. And then we just finish off with this, and it gives us a sort of reasonable finish to the outside. But for this corner, obviously we've got to do something a little bit different. We've got to come in and cut a notch like that, so that when we wrap it round, this is the hard one. I don't know quite how you meant to do that like that, but I'm not an expert on the subject. So we've now got all the corners cut as we want. We also have made sure that when we bend these pieces over that we clear the trim clips. Otherwise it will be very difficult to actually to glue this up. So it's very difficult to do the full length in one go because you kind of need about 6 hands. So unless you're Mr. Tickle, I would recommend not doing that. I would instead recommend doing it like this, sort of starting here and sort of working your way around a little bit. Or I think I might actually start at the end, work at this side and then do this side. So what we're going to do is we're going to run our seam of glue like that. And we're going to bring this over and push really hard basically. The harder you push, the more effective this will be. And bring that edge over. Now you're probably going to glue your hand to it a little bit, don't worry. It's a little bit of a story to your trim when you discover that your skin's attached to it. Also trying to glue your fingers together. But there we go, that's sort of roughly what we want. This glue sets really quickly, which makes it a bit easier. And you can see here, we've got a somewhat nice finish. Also, don't get glue on your carpet. Or do it not on the floor. But I don't have a table big enough to really do this. So, there we go, push that down. Right, that's sort of glued down now. So as you see, we've got our first corner. We've got a little bit of a lump there, but it is what it is. Right, here we go. Here it is. That's the finished article. I think that looks alright for about, well, probably 20 minutes work. So, yeah, here we go. And let's go put it in the Range Rover. Right, so hopefully this is going to fit on. It's always a bit of a gamble with this kind of stuff. But we'll push that up into there. Like that. And then we just got to give it a good old whack. That's on. And that's on. So you see, trim is held on nicely. Can't come off. I think that looks pretty good. Got a nice little seam on there. Butts up nicely to my A-pillar. You can see we've got the upper A-pillar in as well. So yeah, pretty good.